had a case of dynamite in my car. It's back when you could buy that stuff.
I remember that.
I'm an old guy right now. Back then I could get it. And I'd done a lot of stuff with that dynamite. And
Sure.
I had the blasted caps and everything. And I was down to it. I'd used it all up except for about 6 sticks of it. I had it in the trunk of my car. And me and one of my buddies was down at the local Texaco service station where we hung out when we were kids. And my buddy's nephew came in and he asked me if I had any dynamite left. And I said, yeah. I said, there's 5 or 6 sticks in the trunk of my car. And he said, well, I want it. I said, well, what are you going to do with it? He said, well, my dad wants it. I said, well, tell your dad he can have it, but I'm going to take it to him. I'm not going to give it to you. And the kid wasn't much younger than me. I wouldn't give it to him. I was afraid it'd blow itself up. Anyway, me and my buddy went down there to his dad's house, which was my buddy's brother-in-law. And I gave him the 6 sticks of dynamite. I had a cigar box with a 25 or 30 blasting caps that was left over. And I gave him a big roll of dynamite wire to hook it all up with. And then I asked him what he was going to do with it. And he said, well, he said, this old cistern here by the back porch of the house, and it was right up against the back porch, cistern. He said, I couldn't convert this
like
to
this, buried in the ground.
Yeah.
This is what a cistern looks like.
To my septic tank. A few years ago, he said, I've got the bathroom and the kitchen drains plumb to this cistern. And he said, I have to get it pumped out, you know, once a year. He said, it'll fill up and I have to hire somebody to come pump it out. He said, what I want to do is, I'm going to tie that dynamite onto this long pole, and I'm going to sails that thing down through that hoop all the way to the bottom, and I'm going to set that dynamite off. And he said it's going to crack the concrete. And he said then the liquid can soak into the ground, and I won't have to get pumped.
Contamination.
And I said, yeah, that might work. So he's got this big old long pole, and he gets all this dynamite, and he bundles it up down on the end of that and gets some baling wire. And I said, wait a minute, you can't do that. He said, can't do what? I said, you don't want to put all that damn dynamite on the end of that stick and stick it down in that crap. And he said, I know all about this dynamite. And I'm leaving part of it out here. But he said, I know what I'm doing. And I said, no, you don't know what you're doing. I said, why don't you do it like this? I said, get your pocket knife out, cut a little piece about that long off one of them sticks, and put a cap in it, tie it on there, and stick it down in there, and set that off. He said, hell, that won't work. You cut that stick of dynamite in two, and it's no good no more. I said, I can tell right now you don't know shit about dynamite. And so I told him to go on, and so he wound up, he put all these sticks on that damn pole, and he wired it with baling wire. Me and old Bill, my buddy, we stood there and watched him. And he, I told him how to put the blasting caps on, so he'd take a pencil, a sharpened pencil, and you poke a hole in the end of a stick, and that's the same size as the blaster cap, and then you stick that cap down in there, and then you go on to it. Well, he was poking a hole in every one of them, every stick, and I said, no. I said, you didn't put it in one damn stick and put a cap in there. The rest of that dynamite, when you set it off, is going with that one. And he said, I know what I'm doing. He said, it'll just scatter that dynamite out that don't have a damn blaster cap. So I watched him. He went on ahead and put a blaster cap in every one of them, and tied them all together, run the wire up the roll of wires that I gave him. He strung it up to the end of the pole, and then he started pushing that down in that cistern. He got it all the way to the bottom, and that thing was probably 15, 18 foot deep, and it was almost full. And he had his pickup parked, not much further than that chair right there from the top of that cistern. It was a little further, maybe 4 or 5 foot further away. And he had the hood up on it. And he run them wires over there, and he was holding them. I said, Bill, let's get the hell out of here. He was fixing to touch them wires, that truck battery. And me and Bill jumped in my car, and I put it in reverse, and I backed down the street about 2 blocks. And we sat there, and he watched us. I said, don't you do that till we're down there where you can see us, where we stop. Then you go ahead and do that. And he watched us, and we stopped. Me and old Bill was watching out the windshield. And boy, all of a sudden, the ground shook, and my damn car shook. And we looked, and never seen nothing like it. That hole in the top of that cistern for let that water bucket down in, it's about that big around, and it was just black. It went straight up. It must have went for 300-400 foot, just straight up. And then it just mushroomed. And it was raining down everywhere.
Was that guy, did the guy die?
And after it was all done. Me and old Bill, I pulled back up there, but there wasn't no getting out of the damn car. Dang! It was all over the pavement. It was all over the roofs of the house. And the old boy that set it off, he's sitting there and he's like this. He's still holding the damn wire. He's got a cigar in his mouth, about like this, and shit dripping off of it. He's sitting there, and about that time his wife come out on the back porch, and she's covered in shit. And she got a butcher knife in her hand. And she looks at him, and he says, you goddamn son of a bitch, I'm going to cut your goddamn throat. And he turned around, and he pointed at me and Bill sitting out there in the car. He couldn't talk. He just kept doing like that. And here she come after us with that damn butcher knife. And her brother was in the damn car with me. And I hit the gas, and all they do is spin that shit on the side. I was spinning, I was trying to get away, and goddamn she was cutting at me with a damn butcher knife. We finally got it going, and we got back down to the service station, to Texaco. And I'm telling Bill Simmons this story, what we just went through. And I said, you wouldn't believe it. He said, man, I heard that shit when he set that off. I said, well, it was. I said, there's 5 or 6 sticks of dynamite down in that septic tank. And he said, goddamn, I was wondering what that was. About that time, police car pulled in. And the cop come in there and said, Ferris, you're under arrest. And old Bill Simmons said, no, I don't think you want to do that. Said, what you need to do is listen, let him tell you about this. And so the chief wanted to hear it, and I told this story to the chief. And he was busting out laughing. He had tears running down his eyes. He said, and of course I told him who it was. He said, "Oh, I know that guy." And I said, anyway, he finally got in the police car and he left. About that time, the nephew that asked me for the dynamite in the first place, he come back in, he drove in. He wasn't there at the house when it happened. He was downtown riding around. But he went home after it happened, and he seen all the damage it done. And he came down to the station, he said, "Jimmy, you and Bill y'all need to get out of town." Said, "My mama's gonna kill y'all." Said, "Boy, she is mad." And of course, Bill, he said, "Hell, it wasn't our fault. Your stupid ass daddy is the one that did it." And they said Jimmy tried to tell him not to do what he was doing. Anyway, that kid said, "Boy, there's shit all over the ceiling in that house." He said, "Mama was washing dishes at the kitchen sink when he set that shit on." He said, "Mama was covered in shit." I said, "I saw her." And he said, "But that ain't half of it." He said it blew the shitter plumb out of the bathroom. He said it plumb out in the living room floor. He said there's shit all over the ceiling, there's shit all over the furniture. He said, "We got to move out of that damn house now. We got to buy all new furniture." That's a true story.
Good story.
Yep. How come if he dropped it into the